To order. Now it's 7 o'clock.
Seal the minutes of executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. There were no votes taken in executive session. So next we have student recognitions. I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the committee would be so kind as to join us at the front of the table, please. Worthy of recognition, as Ashaya has volunteered to keep the school message board up to date and is doing an amazing job. This also included coming to school to update it even during the summer. And she tirelessly gives to South Kingstown High School, as she is also a Rebel ambassador helping new and prospective students. Ashaya's contribution to South Kingstown High School are an embodiment of the vision of the graduate attributes of character, communication, and citizenship. So on behalf of Dr. McGarr and the South Kingstown School Department, I congratulate you and thank you. And we will go to now Peacedale. So if Celia DeSalvo, Lily Frasia are here, Sebastian Martinez, and Theodore Wojcik. Okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Celia. All right, Celia, Principal Rapport says Celia sets high expectations for herself academically and is a tremendous role model to her peers. She consistently excels in all areas of school and has built positive relationships with students across all grade levels. She is a top-notch student who always puts her best foot forward. Lily, Principal Rapport says, Lily is a highly engaged student during the school day. She is a model of positive behavior and always puts her best foot forward academically. Her kindness and respectfulness towards adults and peers is exemplary, along with her consistently high expectation for her academic achievement. Congratulations, Lily. Sebastian. Sebi? All right. Sebi has made incredible academic growth at Peacedale. He works extremely hard every single day, and his hard work continues to pay off. He is a friend to all and is very inclusive and makes sure to include all his peers. He exemplifies what we want from all of our students at Peacedale Elementary. Congratulations, Seb. Last but certainly not least, Theodore. Teddy. Principal Rapport says Teddy consistently performs at high levels academically, is a hard worker and a great role model for his peers, and he holds himself to high expectations. He is inclusive and plays with everyone at recess. He is a top-notch student at Peacedale and leads by example. Congratulations and thank you, Ted. And now for West Kingston's recognitions are John and Jordan Mishler here. Okay. What? In that case, continuing with our elementary schools at this time, I'll ask Principal McGuire, who is here, to come forward to recognize students from Matunic Elementary.
I'd like to welcome up the following students: Serenity Kerr, Emma Messier, Claire Tabor, Cora McGuire, Aaliyah Arnold, Casey Horgan, Cora Boudreau, Kathleen Ashley, Peyton Erickson, Paisley Erickson, and Luna Hames. And I'd also like to recognize Margot Rogers, who wasn't able to make it tonight, but was part of this amazing group. So this group of fourth graders came forward with a thoughtful idea that was called Kindness Counts. The group approached me in the lunchroom and asked if they could create a kindness play to share with the school. In passing, I said, sure, of course, and didn't really think it would come to fruition, but it did. So one student took the lead in writing 3 original skits, and soon after, the group came together during recess, chose their parts, practiced, and we recorded their performances. Their skits focused on important themes. So they came up with rumors, what they are, and why speaking the truth matters. Recess exclusion, what to do when someone is left out. And teasing, how to redirect comments in a positive way. These plays were shown to our entire school as part of our October anti-bullying assembly. I am so proud of the way these students turned their idea into action, promoted kindness and belonging at Matunic School. They included and offered the opportunity to all fourth graders, and now we're proud to say that we're starting a kindness club at Matunic School. Congratulations. Hi. I'm going to selfishly call them back up just to take a photo op. Sorry.
And last but not least, students from Broad Rock Middle School, Emma Morrissey and Jackson Domack. So from Principal McNeese, the Broad Rock Middle School boys and girls cross-country athletes had an outstanding season. Both teams dominated the Southern Division in their regular season meets. Broad Rock cross-country athletes performed at high levels at the Ocean State Invitational on September 26th. They have been with two eighth grade athletes who have been standouts all season long. Big congratulations to the following eighth grade athletes who consistently placed first place at meets throughout the regular season: Emma Morrissey and Jackson Domack. At the Ocean State Invitational, Emma placed fourth overall out of 213 runners in the eighth grade. And Jackson placed seventh out of 207 runners in the eighth grade race. The boys and girls cross country teams had outstanding finish to their season last Sunday with a spectacular performance and personal bests at the Rhode Island State Championship meet. The girls team placed fourth overall in the team standings, and the team was led by Emma, who placed third overall. The boys team had 3 boys place in the top 20, led by grade 8 standout Jackson Domack. The boys team placed second place overall as a team in the state meet. Again, a big congratulations to both teams for all of their hard work and dedication and training this season. And special congratulations to the representatives, Emma Morrissey and Jackson Domack. And with that, as we close the student recognition, I would just like to say that what a fantastic embodiment of our district's new mission in terms, it says, in partnership with our community, our students will thrive, and a wonderful embodiment of that here tonight. So my thank you to parents, guardians, communities, friends, and family for being here tonight. You are welcome to stay and see democracy in action. However, you are not required to stay. So if at this time you would like to make it an early night, thank you all so much for coming, and congratulations to all of our recognees this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be resuming the business portion of the meeting, so it may get a little loud. Thank you all again. Congratulations.
Next up is comments from the community. All right, with that, with that, we're going to close public comment. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Just for the record, we did not have any purchases over the 10,350.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Next up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee. Let's see. Just wait for the presentation, or as we wait for the presentation to get called up, I have 3 items on in my report this evening. A follow-up from last meeting in terms of questions that were proposed that I was able to find some answers to regarding CTE enrollment in district, as well as more information on the International Baccalaureate or the IB. The second agenda item that I would like to include in my report is, again, the correlation between attendance and achievement from our state testing scores in 24-25, as well as an update from the time capsule opening that will be occurring on the 24th. Thank you very much. On the enrollment update, again, on our last meeting, it came to our attention that I had not sorted the file correctly, and so our CTE enrollment for this school year was incorrect, and so I wanted to make sure to get the committee those corrected numbers. The comparison of CTE from last year, we had 6 students attending South Kingstown High School from other districts. This year, we have 11. And that include communities, all of our surrounding communities of Charlestown, Narragansett, Jamestown, West Greenwich, East Greenwich, Warwick, and Westerly. Additionally, I've listed the different programs that we currently have in place. I do know that there were some other questions regarding CTE and the application process that we will have at our next meeting. The next meeting, Dr. McGarr will be here to present the high school program of studies, as well as we'll review that application and we'll be able to field questions directly, as well as talk about the existing application that may be online for out of district and the difference between out of district applications and in district. Next slide, please. So in follow-up to the IB for All presentation, there was a request in terms of how widespread or what what is the value add, if you will, for IB for all, as well as in terms of some of the, so rather than go too deeply into that, I wanted to pull up a resource. If you go to the website listed there, just in the, you can search any college, university program around the world that recognizes or will give credit to for IB, graduating with an IB diploma, as well as potentially the middle years program. What I've learned is that some colleges and universities do give credit for the middle years program, because the middle years program can extend, if so desired, can extend to 10th grade. And so it can start in middle school, and it can be as short as 3 years or as long as 5 years. And so we do see that. But in the United States alone, 830 universities will give recognition. And that does not even get into the different high schools and things in terms of how different places have ranked like their local GPAs. Next slide, please. Additionally, how widespread is the International Baccalaureate? International. So I just wanted to give a foot, just a parameter of how global in scope and scale the IB program is. You could click onto any of those icons and narrow down to any country or area of the world that currently has IB program approved programs in place. So again, just again, looking for that value added piece. Next slide, please. I'll touch a little bit on the financials, but I'm up next on the financial questions that were on top of mind for everybody. But what I would just like to say is that ultimately, as I talk about some of the costs that are associated with the IB for all, they vary based on which rectangle or stage in the authorization process you are in. Currently, we are in the, it doesn't exist on this chart. We are that, so I had to add it in there. We are in the yellow. We are just kicking this idea around and doing some investigation. Even if we were to enter that first block, if a school were to do that or a school community, there would still be no costs. The costs start to come in when we get to that second block, requests for candidacy. And then depending on how that request goes, and as well as your plan, the costs that I will go over very briefly for each program starts to be implemented. Next slide, please. Some other things that are not talked about, though, in the cost considerations that I've outlined here is that the professional development requirements vary for each program. For example, in the earliest program for elementary primary years, there is one required professional development for all faculty, a 2-day training. Whereas in the middle years program, there is a implementing the middle years program and subject professional development that's required. And then in the diploma program, we then get back to just subject. So it will vary. And then obviously the number of schools that would be undertaking each one of these, as well as the amount of professional development that can be scheduled in advance, would dramatically reduce the cost, as well as costs if we were to do things virtually versus in person, as well as if things are done asynchronously versus synchronously. All of those have different costs, which I'm not going to present tonight. But again, it is going to vary. Additionally, there does need to be some coordination at each school level. This can be a district level position, but it cannot be the building principal. So in addition to the building principal, there must be IB coordination at each school that is mapped out. The visits that are talked about in terms of, think of them as accreditation visits during this process, do not include the secondary costs for local travel, meals. Assessment costs are going to vary for the middle years diploma and career programs, as each assessment is very different. as well as the number of assessments that students would choose to take for each program. I did confirm, though, that the district, if we would qualify for a discount across all yearly fees if all schools are authorized by the IB eventually. And for the primary years program, I did find out that instruction of a world language does need to begin by grade 2, and it must be for the duration. If we are broken in, it must be for at least a trimester, and it can't. So it would be for at least a trimester. Next slide, please. So I'll go through these. All of the slides for the most part are the same. Some of the fees are very similar or are the same. So consideration phase. So if we were to do a school were to do a self-study and want to move forward into that consideration phase, it would be a minimum cost would be $4,000, as well as training for the principal must happen in order to even get out of the consideration phase.
Per school?
Per school. Yep. And this is for each program. So the diploma program would be for the high school only. The candidacy phase. So if that application went through and candidacy was granted, there is then the year fee of $9,500, and we would start to put in all of those required trainings. Those required trainings for authorization to occur, you must have everybody trained for authorization to occur. You can't be authorized and still have another year or two of oh, we didn't get we're doing the other half of our faculty after authorization. Everybody has to be done that's going to be teaching for authorization to occur. So for schools that do that in 1 year, their candidacy phase may last only 1 year. However, if you stretch it out, your professional development, your candidacy is stretched out over multiple years, which then continues that cost. It is very typical, though, for the diploma program to be a 2-year candidacy phase. However, once candidacy and if authorized, that year is again another $9,500. And then once a school is authorized, or the high school is authorized for the diploma program, it is an annual fee of approximately currently $12,660. Additionally, every 5 years after authorization, you do have an accreditation visit, which again, the fee is approximately $4,000, and again, is not inclusive of costs. So essentially, for a diploma program, outside of the professional development costs, you're looking there at your approximately next 4 years of costs. Because it's the largest school, you're looking at more than likely around, I would guess, best guesstimate would be about $30,000 in professional development to occur. And that would be for the middle range. That would be for synchronous, for virtual synchronous, not asynchronous modules. That's my best guess.
So that would only be, this slide is only for the high school.
Only for the high school. Next slide, please. If we were to move forward, though, and want to concurrently or get the diploma program up and running at the high school and then put in the career program, the cost for the career program is outlined here. The consideration and application and candidacy phase are one and the same, with a cost of $8,500. It's then, though, that the post-authorization phase is dramatically reduced. The annual fees go down from about $5,000 to $1,600. You can run a career program independently as its own program. However, I did not outline the costs here. I only did if we did a diploma program as well as then the career program. Also reduced, or not reduced, but shown here is assuming that we are a diploma program as well as a career program, as the annual fee for just the career is an additional $1,600, but the 5-year review comes to $5,800 with a combined visit, assuming those authorizations what they would do is they would put us on a schedule that would have the authorization visits happening at the same time. We wouldn't have to separate those out. Those costs would be shared across both programs. Next slide, please. Switching to the middle years, again, the middle years program can be just the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, or a district could go for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. The key being that in the grades 9 and 10, the assessment that students need to do would change. The consideration phase, again, same amount as other programs. Here you see a little bit different in terms of costs, just because the required trainings is going to go up. So you have developing the MYP program that all faculty and staff need to go through. However, then you get into content specific trainings that need to be, and those are only. Again, that is also would be around that $30,000 mark approximately. And again, that is a middle of the road cost guesstimate. Continued candidacy and authorization, if you spread it out over 2 years, would then be an additional, again, or would be that additional 9,500 with an annual fee of 9,260 once approved. And additionally, it's not, I have to work with some of my slides. Members of the public can't see it, I don't believe, but the annual review fee for the middle years is $3,960 every 5 years for that accreditation visit. Next slide. Last but certainly not least is the primary years program. Similar consideration phase cost, however, that would be per building. And this would be per school. So we would take all of these and we would need to multiply them by 3 for each elementary school. Candidacy phase costs, there is though just the required training of all teachers of developing the PYP. However, that does include all faculty and staff, or excuse me, all faculty, including part-time folks. Additionally, because it would be required, the grade 2 or the cost of the world language, as well as coordinators, are not included in these. And then we have the annual fee for those schools, as well as the 5-year review. I did not get into conversations with representatives for the IB to talk about, hey, if we have everybody synchronized and we had 3 schools all authorized at the same time, is there wiggle room on that review? Since you're not coming in, we could potentially look to synchronize all of those switches. But they said, basically, that's a bridge that we can cross eventually once we get there. So there are further discounts that could be if every school was authorized as we get onto similar schedules. And next slide, I'll take a pause here. Are there any questions regarding any of the follow-up items? Again, CTE enrollment or follow-up from IB for all?
I'm just curious, for the annual fee, I mean, what do we get for paying that on an annual basis? I mean, once everybody's trained and, you're accredited, and then there's still this annual fee. I just want to know what we get annually for that.
Essentially, it is just like NEASC, where you are a NEASC accredited school, and every year the high school pays our accreditation fee for being an accredited school. It is the same for the International Baccalaureate, where you are then allowed to use their trademarks, market until authorization. Well, I'll take this back. At the diploma program level, you cannot market yourself even when you're in candidacy phase. When you are a candidate school, you can begin to market yourself in the primary years and the other years. So additionally, professional development, curricular materials, all of these things that are open only to member schools become open to each and every school. But ultimately, it's because you are an IB. It's the cost of being an IB accredited school.
A few questions. I'll start from where you started. So
So you talked about advantages to students at the college when they're going to college. Is there, are they seen favorably in terms of admissions, or do we know?
Yeah, so what I wanted to do was find things in addition to the research that was given in the packet the last time, just find some quick wins. If we were to go into a work session, or we have various college counselors that we would be reaching out to get their take on what if any the value add from the college admissions process would be through their lens.
And when you say college credits, you're talking about just like passing an AP test, they're getting credits
Correct.
back on.
And in some cases, there are certain scholarships open up at certain universities if you
Right.
come in with a diploma.
You had the chart about the steps in the process. Can you give us a timeline estimate that late, or is that
Yeah.
kind of up to how far we decide to move?
Right. So the timeline would be essentially if we were interested and wanted to continue and start having local school-based local conversations, there's nothing stopping us. We would be jumping right into that consideration phase and start to have each school take a look at the relative readiness of, okay, are we interested? Are we prepared, interested, and motivated to get into that candidacy phase? At which point, where are we in the school year? Have we budgeted for it? If not, how are funds going to be made available for that component and ultimately chart that course?
And you said the IB coordinator can't be the principal,
It cannot.
but it's not somebody's full-time job.
It is
It's like a piece of someone's job. Maybe there's a stipend. Is there a stipend?
Yeah, so you would need to, each location is a little bit different and how they do it. The most typical way would be at each school, there is someone who would be part-time, a teaching, counseling, administrative position, the other 0.5 overseeing the implementation of the IB curriculum and process. So that also would shift during the authorization process. It would be, their role would be about making sure that professional development goes through, building that application. And obviously, once accreditation is given, it's then, okay, making sure it's being implemented with fidelity, as well as then getting ready for those accreditation visits and any follow-up reports.
And so is it different enough from a regular curriculum that we would have to do, for example, maybe rewrite IEPs to make sure there's access for all students, or change the way MLL students are taught? I mean, is it that different that we would have to look at those kind of changes?
No, I think it's something that we would look at those things because it would be a new process and a new program going in place. At the elementary years, it would be different because the most dramatic shift would be, okay, we have these big questions, these big ideas that the IB is giving to us. How are we now, instead of the scope and sequence from McGraw-Hill or from all of these different buckets, how are we going to make sure that those align with, and we're keeping up with the pacing guide? It would be, wait a minute, now let's take a look at our curriculum and how does that best fit to answer those themes, or to bring or to answer that question. Maybe maybe a certain unit in English and social studies that used to be separated now become combined, and the scope and sequence changes, or the pacing changes. That would be the most dramatic piece. And as part of that process, we would have to, and we would want to make sure, okay, if we're changing how we're organizing the scope and sequence of the school year, how can we improve upon access and opportunity for all students? So if we were to do this and we're moving a unit, or we're combining English and social studies instruction into one, okay, if we're pulling out for services, can we continue to do that anymore? Or do we need to rethink the entire structure or sequence, or do we need to, basically the sequence and the staging of the daily operations would then need to be taken into account to make sure that access and opportunity for all students is guaranteed. So it forces, essentially, it's something that we are always doing. However, Here that there's, for lack of a better word, I'll just use permission to look at, to recategorize everything because you've got a new paradigm in which you're organized or looking to organize your instruction. And so everything and how it's delivered and the time structures behind them can be reevaluated.
So this is a program. This one, the battery. Okay. So. So this is a program that has to go across the whole school district, correct?
No, it does not. It can be implemented at any individual school. The proposal of what we were looking at in terms of what was brought forward, it was again, the idea of doing this as an entire district so that it didn't become just a program for some or a program for a certain school, so that ultimately, if we believed it was good for a school or for certain students, why wouldn't it be good for potentially all students? And to take that on as a challenge, as well as an accolade for this district. So there's nothing saying that, though, that if every school said, no, we're not there yet, we can wait, but one school, let's say the high school, said they were ready, or the middle school said they were ready and wanted to engage in this, and we could financially support it, there's nothing that says, no, you need to, except for us, unless we wanted to say, no, wait, we want to do this all together. It can be done separately, and in most cases currently around the state, and even in the region, they're done as separate programs.
I asked the question because I want to try to understand how we get to that. Who determines if we're ready, right? We just completed an equity audit, and that equity audit was implemented so that we could find out where our learning gaps are, why we have those learning gaps, and we just got through that process. And for me, I don't think that we should be trying to jump in to another program, because I know that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done here in this district to even think about other programs. And if I were to implement a program and maybe 5 years after analyzing and assessing and looking at all of what we have done in 5 years and how far our students have come, I would want to start across the elementary schools. And the reason for that is because in the elementary schools, you have preschool, kindergarten, those younger children. Whereas the middle and high school, those are students that are already been in the system. They may or may not be thriving at the time. So we're gonna take and bring something else in and slap it on their lap. I think that would be unfair to them. And I also think that, as a district, and I'm not saying the idea is a bad idea, I just don't think it's a good idea right now currently for self-care. We still have students who cannot read. We need to figure out why that is. We need to work on that. And if we're trying to put in a new program, will these students ever be able to read? Will they stay in school? We don't know that. So we have to pause. We need to pause, and we need to continue to implement the recommendations that we had coming out of that equity audit. And we need to allow our teachers and educators to find a system that will work for these students, especially our students that are moving to our system that cannot read. I can't say I like the idea. I mean, I put a lot of effort as well as others on the school committee to get this equity audit completed, done, so we could see what those findings are. And I just feel like that's where we should be right now.
Thank you for the feedback. I would say that, we, based on the based on the priorities and goals that we adopted as a district for the strategic plan that puts the equity audit front and center, that will continue to be the driver regardless of what we are tasked with doing moving forward. Regardless of programs, regardless of what comes down from the General Assembly, regardless of what comes down from RIDE and graduation standards, or what comes down from the federal government, who knows in terms of what state testing or standardized testing is even going to look like, or even continues to exist. So we don't know what is yet ahead of us, but I do know that we are committed to rectifying and addressing the items brought up in the equity audit. And ultimately, using that equity audit as well as those core beliefs about teaching and learning, about with trust, respect, and high expectations. When we think of, or I'll speak for myself, when I think about the highest expectation or the highest standards that exist in public education or in K through 12, I believe that the International Baccalaureate are those highest standards. And so as such, it would not be an abandonment of anything with the equity audit. If anything, it would be a framework that we all need to agree on, a set of standards, not that the high school has to reach because you're graduating, or not because because NEASC is coming in for your accreditation, but ultimately that we're using so that self-assessment as well as an outside assessment can see and ultimately accredit the work that is being done. And because in the standards for the International Baccalaureate that I have looked through regarding access and opportunity and inclusion, as well as the emphasis on diversity and a global perspective, it was a program that resonated that way. But in no way, I truly appreciate that perspective, but want to reassure you that if this doesn't happen, or if we don't move forward, we're going to be addressing that equity audit. If we were to move forward, we will be addressing the items brought up forward in that equity audit. And our priorities and goals that were adopted last meeting, make sure that we do.
No, I mean, I don't think that, that the administration would be abandoning the audit at all. I think you guys have been doing great work to implement the recommendations that you have. What concerns me is moving into a new program and abandoning students that are not able to keep up, that are not able to learn, because learning isn't a one size fits all. We have to meet kids where they're at. And for me, I just feel like people that look like me, students that look like me, are underserved, are marginalized. special education, uh, multiple learners. We have a large demographic of students that I am concerned about because I don't think that this is the type of program that would benefit them. So I'm not concerned about abandoning the audit. I'm concerned about abandoning students. And I know that's not the intent, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say it out loud.
So to follow up on what Ms. Whitford said, I would like to see some data on the students with IEPs in this IB program. And I know that our special educators have all the training and how to complete those IEPs. And they should be written in such a way that it's geared for the student. It doesn't matter the materials that the student is using. But I'd like to have some data on how well or poorly that exists. We have, in addition, continuing to follow up on that piece. We have quite a large number of collaborative classes, and the last time I checked, we have them at all levels, from K to maybe not kindergarten, but up to grade 12. And I'd like to know if this IB program, supports that. The kind of overall question that I have is, does the IB program have a specific curriculum, or do they just have, guidelines, and then the district can choose a curriculum that fits those guidelines? And I'm throwing all this stuff out at you, figuring
That one I can answer. The first, well, the second one, co-teaching supported, and when I did do visits to schools, and it was a primary years program, there was co-teaching going on. There is nothing that says co-teaching cannot be supported. Two teachers in the same room who are trained in the inquiry-based pedagogy, it is something that they more than likely would not have a problem with, but that I've seen. In terms of data for students with IEPs and IB programs, that I do not have at the ready. And your third, I'm sorry, I lost track of the last that you were going to mention, the curriculum. So they have their standards, and ultimately what we need to do, or part of the accreditation, is demonstrating how either your existing curriculum meets those standards, or how, as implementing this program, you are going to go through a curricular process that ensures that ultimately, like as I described before, where you are breaking apart your curriculum and rewriting it in such a way that you are answering, or you are meeting those criteria that are outlined. So in the standards for accreditation for the IB program, there are some for accreditation, there's some for instruction, assessment, inclusion. So, and all of those need to be demonstrated. How each school goes about doing that depends on what they have in place and how aligned the curriculum either is already, or in some cases isn't. They will not say, so ultimately when you become a IB authorized school, your curriculum itself is approved. It is then an IB curriculum. They will not be saying to you, you are going to go to Pearson and you're going to buy our math and you're going to do quote unquote IB math. Your math at the diploma level would be mapped out to this is the assessment that you're going to take. How can you show that you're going to get students to that assessment? You're going to backwards map it.
Okay. I'm not done. Sorry. But you knew that. You knew I wasn't done yet. What are the 8 content areas? I'm lost there.
So the 8 content areas, there are a few that come in later on because they use their terminology. So for example, in the middle school year, they will call a content area will be design. So whether that be design through applied arts, or whether that be oh gosh, I'm spacing on the on the concept of not universal design. Sorry, I'm in my educational framework, but the UDL, no, well, there's universal design for like, but ultimately it's the universal design in terms of problem solving. It becomes about communication. So I can get each grade level or has specific content areas that they highlight, and I can get those too.
Okay.
But in most cases, at the high school level, you're talking about, those are the outliers, design, and most things are mathematics, science, English, world language,
Yeah,
PE health.
that I figured out.
Yep. So those are,
So this 5-year review, that's like what we currently do for our accreditation through NEASC every 10 years. Would this be able to take the place of that?
that would be a local decision. So NEASC accreditation is a local decision.
Okay.
So
Thought it was-
how it matches up with that process, that would be for the school and district to decide. Is if you're, are you, in most cases, when I've done accreditation visits, IB schools continue to be, locally accredited.
And I think this is my last question. Kate's ready to throw me out. She's gonna like throw me right out. Bring a thing to have me removed. That we talked about this at the last meeting, that there's a lot of interdisciplinary units is a good portion of the PD in that interdisciplinary teaching, because I tried it once and I was a dismal failure. You put me with writing,
Yeah.
math and writing.
That I can't speak to. Again, we're talking about also K through, actually 4 different programs with each
Yes.
professional development different for each program. So, and having not
Well-
gone through any of it myself, I can't speak to that. However, that student voice, that inquiry, that big question is a uniting factor. However, as you move up to the primary years, or excuse me, the middle years and the diploma program, you do have content specific assessments.
Okay. I kind of, that question, I was really just throwing it out there. Thank you very much. I think a lot of the things that I mentioned are things that we should look into. And I think it's a good idea to continue to research this without jumping into any implementation until all our questions are answered and we make sure that we've answered questions that families might have, questions that faculty might have, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't want to throw you out, Michelle. So I think this is like a chicken and an egg conversation. And is kind of how I'm looking at it. I look at it as a solution to our equity audit issues. I look at it as a solution to our current I'll say standardized testing score scenario. But then on the flip side of that, there's also a funding situation that we clearly have ahead of us. And just doing quick, like really bad math, we're looking at, in order to do this K through 12, you're talking at over $100,000 just to consider, right? And then, you know, your annual fee of 45,000 at every school for every school. And then every 5 years, you're looking at another, you know, 20,000. I'm making these numbers up because I do not do math that fast, but like another $20,000 every 5 years on top of all of that. So I think from where we are, it's like we're building this beautiful high school. We want our programs and quality of education to match our facility. This is a way to do that. It's a way to implement the equity audit. I heard you in the last meeting, you did a great presentation on that. But also we do have an excessive amount of kids who have left our district that we pay for. And if we can reduce that number, we actually would have the funding to explore this meaningfully, but they're gone. So it really is this kind of like, do we do it? Do we not do it? Is the funding there? Is the funding not there? It seems to be like it would be kind of a beautiful way to solve some problems. But also we don't know that it will solve our problems, right? So we kind of just keep going around in circle. I did like when Paula brought up, it seems that a lot of times my experience and in understanding of the program is a lot of districts implement it at the diploma level. So they implement the high school. It does seem like it might be worth exploring at the primary year level. And to explore and consider in the primary years, maybe you implement it. Then as those kids, K 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then they're moving up into the middle years. Then it gets implemented at middle years. Then it gets implemented at diploma level. And then I believe there's a career pocket too that you brought up, which I think is awesome. I think in theory, it's a solution to a lot of our problems. In reality, we don't know that would be the case. So it's a big risk at a time where we're taking some huge risks. So I very much agree with the hesitation. I won't say I agree, but I understand that hesitation of, oh my God, we're going to do another program. You know, like we have all these huge things that we are navigating consistently. But also it does look like it could be a solution to a lot of our problems. So what I would suggest is kind of what Michelle ended with is let's keep talking about it. Maybe put a pin in it for a year. Maybe see that some of our students aren't leaving the district anymore. We're reclaiming some funds. So now this extra, you know, $200,000 is available and we don't have to cut something else in order to fund this, or we don't have to ask for more money from the town to fund this or whatever it is. So I think it's very important to keep it on the horizon and to keep looking at it and exploring it. And maybe that means consideration phase for the primary schools, but never implement in only one school.
No.
At the elementary
So
level anyway. Like
right.
middle school, get it. We have one school, high school, we have one school, get it, but never implement only one.
And so we can continue to move along those and explore all options. The only piece that I just want to bring up, again, I wouldn't be putting this forward if I didn't pedagogically and core value wise to what we're expressing and what we truly believe we're about and can get behind if it didn't align there. However, taking off that educator intrinsic motivation hat, the only thing that I would say is that we would need to be prepared to do, if we were to go that long play, it would need to be that return on investment in meat would not be able to come too quickly unless in-migration and were able to happen with people moving into the district, because the only way right now to enter into the district through tuition is through CTE. So starting it at and if that's what our educators and administrators could get behind and rallied around and felt that they could deliver, dynamic, exciting to come to work and do this and have schools and children feel the same way, and they wanted to get behind it, well, then again, that's what we're here for. But I didn't want to, having that program build up, we wouldn't be able to have, the outside community utilizing CTE to get the IB program wouldn't be able to happen except at the high school.
Yep, but to kind of, on the flip side of that,
It'd just be a longer play.
on the flip side, we have a lot of kids who leave in our elementary school to go to charter schools that might stay.
Right.
And so
Okay.
less money is flowing out.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the biggest,
Good
to me, the biggest driver for South Kingstown, at least for the next 2 to 5 years, is stop the attrition out. Yes, every time we get a student from somewhere else, yay, but it really is stop the migration out. And I think having AB at your elementary school levels
Yeah.
is a big draw, especially for the folks in the community that we pulled DLI away from. Having that world language starting and being infused in all 3 of our elementary schools would be huge. It would be huge.
Thank you
So
for bringing that.
there's-
That is an outlier. Again,
There are
it's
so many,
an outlier in the state
Yeah.
to have 2 charter schools at the elementary level that.
exactly. I mean, there are
did
so
forget
many
about. So thank you.
pros, but the cons are glaring also. So, but I appreciate you mapping all this out and having a really robust conversation about it. So thank you.
Yeah, this is a great conversation. I think what I would add into it is just my concern about the sustainability, given the costs. It is a high cost year over year. And without knowing if we're going to pull that money back in from students who are out right now, it's difficult to justify investing in it at this point. I think it's still worth having the conversation. But certainly I think what would help in that sustainability piece is that it really needs to be full community investment, like not just us sitting up here. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. No, it's got to be the teachers got to be behind it. The community has to be behind it. And because if we're doing this, they're going to be funding it. So it certainly has to be a broad, full community investment in this type of thing. I mean, on the face of it, I think it's a great program. I think it is. I think it could add a lot of value. I think it could address some of the equity concerns. I think there's a lot there for us to be looking at as pros, but certainly the cost is a big con, and just not knowing if the full community would be behind it is a big, to me, a big con at the moment. Now, but I certainly think we could continue to have this conversation. I think we want to open it up and maybe invite people from other communities who put this in place, have like workshops around it. I think we just continue to learn about it, continue to learn the benefits, continue to learn what the pros are. We can start, getting the community behind it to potentially look at this down the road. As I was noticing when I was looking at the schools that have put this in place, my alma mater, Fitch High School in Groton, Connecticut, has this in place. So there are close by communities that have done this. So it would be really fascinating for me to learn what have they gained out of it. What problems do they see? So we can start learning from that and start, if we're going to do this, we want to maybe learn from other communities' mistakes, and might not make the same mistakes. Now, certainly probably would make our own still, but the more we can learn, the better off we'll be. So I think we definitely want to continue the discussion. I think it is more of a multi-year horizon. That's something we probably can budget for in FY 26, 27. But it is, I think it's a conversation worth having, but I definitely want to make sure the whole community gets involved, and it really is a robust conversation with everyone, all the stakeholders that would be impacted by this.
full disclosure, in terms of putting it out, while I've had conversations with union leadership along, we've not put out anything to school improvement teams. We haven't, again, it's a matter of, we want to gauge the interest / potential appetite before we have to go down and it would be a mammoth climb. So before we decide, do people want to take that climb and, ultimately willingly. And, then it would be worth the effort to, okay, now let's start to take a look at those things. If all of a sudden it's a matter of, no, were there other things that we're excited about or that we can rally around as well as, meet our strategic plan, then by all means. And so again, it's regardless, I think that right now, we don't have the budget for it in FY26. There's nothing that says FY27 is going to get a whole lot better, but I'll be optimistic. But we can start, if all of a sudden it's just not, if it's a no, then okay, great. Then we can, focus our efforts and energies elsewhere. So I appreciate the committee's feedback. And again, we'll try to answer any questions, but and at the same time, we can look to revisit at a different time.
Have you
as well.
talked to the building principals?
Yes.
And-
Yes, building principals were this was discussed with them individually, then collectively, and then collectively again as a leadership team.
Is it something they're excited about, or are they just like, well, we'll do it if that's what the direction we go? I mean, what was their feedback to you?
Feedback, I said that, the feedback was, let's go forward. Let's move it forward. Please bring it forward to the strategic planning committee. And see if this is something that ultimately resonates with different stakeholders represented there, and then see if it had the support. So again, I think there's also what I'll acknowledge, but was not a part of, was creating a program, getting excitement, and then seeing that work go away.
Right.
And so, that's a real lived experience for people that we don't have. So if there, I could see why there would be, or potentially is, even if they didn't express it, even if there were optimism, some pessimism as well. And the fiscal realities, are there.
So I just have a basic question. So, and a lot of this is because I don't know a lot about the program holistically. What I have heard are IB courses, which you would take like an AP course and you would get college credit for. Is that part of the IB program, or is that, I'm just trying to shore up what I know with what I'm learning.
So the most common IB program that people would be familiar with, or that culturally is known is at the high school level, is the diploma program. And there are IB courses. There are also, once you take a certain number of IB courses, your diploma you then would get an IB endorsed diploma. That's a whole other level of what IB schools are able to do, but that students ultimately choose if they want to take 8 IB courses.
So you could go to an IB diploma school, but not end up with that designation on your diploma?
There are schools that do that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this is great. I love the robust conversation
Yep.
because it's like, it sounds like there's like a buffet of items
Yeah.
that you can take from this one.
That's the vast majority of the vast majority of high schools will offer it like an AP course.
Right. I believe
And-
Prout does that.
Yep. And then there are, again, for students who take IB designated classes and pass the exam, they would then get issued an IB diploma. There's nothing stopping in most comprehensive high schools. It's like an AP or honors course where people would choose to take them. At the middle and primary years, the IB program changes in that it's more comprehensive.
Right.
Where there is at the elementary level, it's all the subjects are unified under the IB umbrella and answering those big questions. Then when you get to the middle years program, you start to, because people start to departmentalize, but there starts to become, there's still those unifying questions. And then there's also a service learning piece and a portfolio, but it's as a portfolio, where in the secondary schools, it tends to be, independent courses. That's not to say that there aren't schools out there that every class is an IB class.
I'm really interested in hearing more. I think a lot of schools kind of have the system like Proud where they offer AB courses. Is this like, but if you take an AB course, do you get college credit for it or?
Yes, the vast majority of schools
Okay.
see IB in some cases a notch above, or at the very least equal to IB or AP courses.
I think given the needs, I'm gonna align with what Kate was saying. It kind of makes sense to start, even though it's the most expensive place to start. And we talk numbers and if we do it, we have to know where this money is coming from for like 10 years. We can't start it and stop it. We just done that with the other things and that's not good for students. Or teachers and administrators. But I think we could get the biggest bang for that huge buck is at the elementary school level. I think that could make sure that the three schools are on the same playing field, that everybody's trained with the same PD. I mean, there's a lot of benefits, I think. I would like to just maybe come back again and try to answer all those wonderful questions Michelle had, and then more thought about it. Would this be the right place to start at the elementary level and just think about that more? So, great conversation. And I just think we need to continue it. Yeah. Okay, so then,
Can I have can I ask a question about like from the agenda? So I'm curious I'm going through the rest of your superintendent's report, going through the achievement and attendance.
you want to flip it?
I was wondering if we could put a pause in the superintendent's report and bring Phil and Kate up so that they can touch upon their things, because as enthralling as it may be for them to, I just feel badly that they're sitting there. But if that's not, if you want to finish, I understand, but also if it will be too much longer.
No, in terms of, where the conversation is taking us, I just want to bring, just connect. I'm just looking to connect. I can expedite it.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and finish
Okay.
the next segment at least, with our apologies to Kate and Phil.
So moving on, or in terms of the IB, I will continue to investigate. I will come up with some sort of framework that allows that conversation or presentation of potentially different programs and little bits and pieces, as well as start to think about potential funding mechanisms, both locally, grant, as well as community-wise, moving forward. So on the next piece to just go through, it's actually something that was brought up last year in the presentation. It was the first time that RIDE was actually able to do it, and that's regarding attendance and achievement. And so with the most recent data, what we did is that we were able to take the entire state and every district, and basically the dashboard or the snapshots that are in my report show that what I did was I ranked both in ELA and in mathematics. I sorted the tables by students who are not chronically absent, or which is labeled there as CA, chronically absent, missing 10% or more, 18 school days or more. And what I did was in that first slide here on RICAS, what you see is that in grades 3 through 8, if we rank all the school districts in the state of Rhode Island by students who are not absent, you'll see that South Kingstown ranks or comes out as number 11 on RICAS. Again, three huge numbers, and 12 in mathematics in the state. But when we then sort though by the math gap, next slide, please. Or not the math gap, but by the gap, is that we move up in the rankings, and while not, it's not in a positive way, this shows the tremendous impact that our teachers have on the students who are in front of them and the great teaching and learning that goes on every single day. But on the negative, it shows that ultimately we're talking about 130 students. We jump in RICAS. We have the sixth largest gap in ELA and third in mathematics when it comes to RICAS. So ultimately, 130 students who are chronically absent more than likely have that gap in their knowledge. And so making sure that we're doing everything we can, from outreach to parents to the community, to engaging lessons, to great school climates, to positive reinforcement. We're working on all students, but we can also continue to make gains as we look to support and get those 130 students to make sure that they're back at school. Next slide, please. That gap is an achievement is even more pronounced as you get older. So I left off the PSATs because PSATs are not included in accountability rankings, which will be coming out next, and I'm sure we'll take. So I left PSATs off. But when I take a look, and again, students who are not chronically absent, so who come to school generally more than 162 days or more, school in ELA, we rank 5th in the state and 7th in math. When we then rank the size of the gap, next slide, our gap is the 4th largest in the state, and it's in ELA, and it's the largest in the state for mathematics. Again, positively speaking, come to school, make sure you're in school, come to South Kingstown High School, and you're going to experience some great teaching and learning, and your performance on state assessments is going to go up. If you're not in school, the likelihood, especially in mathematics, you are dropping very far behind. Again, not that we're not going to continue to support, but these are the supports that we need to make sure get put in place. And I bring this forward because, again, from the state perspective, attendance is key. It's still a talking point, but as we get into and talking about metrics, and as we start to deal with smaller cohorts, small changes in small cohorts have big results. And so these, having targeted initiatives, targeting certain subgroups, or initiatives that are potentially for not universal, can still have dramatic impact. And those are things that we're doing a great job of. And I'm pleased to report that to date, every single one of our schools has an attendance rate that is better than this point last school year. And the states that will come online for the public to view on November 1st. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Last but certainly not least, I just wanted to give a Wakefield School time capsule update. The unearthing is still to be determined. Why is it not happening all at the same time? Well, the capsule is not a capsule. Well, it is in some cases, but it is a concrete vault. It is a 5'7", 2 foot by 2 foot, more than likely concrete, approximately probably 2,000 pounds. This is not This is not something that we are going to be able to hoist out, like, okay, everybody on 3. Like, so, and so our plans have needed to change or will need to change. So the weight prohibits transportation. We don't know what condition it's in. I met with the Historical Society. If water got into this, there is no, we need to plan a sock hop or something. Because if they said, if water gets in, mold, mildew, you cannot open this in public then. So so there are lots of implications. And so this will need to be unearthed ahead of time. So the condition is unknown. In February, the weather is unknown. Excuse me, November, what did I say? All right, getting ahead, sorry. I'm trying to go fast. I'm trying, guys, I swear. So currently everything being perfect, we are going to open it inside the Wakefield School Auditorium. We have clearance from the town. There's enough space that we'll be able to, we don't know how heavy it is. Do we need to use crowbars? Do we need to use a hoist to get the top off? So, in terms of none of our schools, even though our schools in some cases are getting demolished, not for a couple of years, we cannot go with our original plan of hosting it in the auditorium or in the gymnasium and wheel something in. So we will be having it at Wakefield School from 5 to 7 with the speaking program there that is still under construction. We also are working with local council because of the return to items of students, families, and how that has to occur, as well as the role that the South County Historical Society can take moving forward for those items that are not claimed. With that, that concludes my report if there are no further questions.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the superintendent report?
I'll make motion to accept the superintendent report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. That will bring us to school committee business A, discussion action, Curtis Corner Middle School demolition, site stabilization, ride submission. So welcome.
Thank you.
And I apologize for how late we went.
Not a problem at all. Can you guys hear me? Is that better? There we go. Would it be possible to pull up the PowerPoint presentation? Yes. What's the other one? Oh, yes, yes, it would just be it's just the presentation. All right, so moving to the next slide, going through a quick agenda for tonight. We're going to look at some of the milestone dates for the project in front of us. We are tonight looking for approval to submit our 60% construction document progress drawings and estimate over to RIDE for their approval. That is in preparation of really getting us moving on the partial demolition and site stabilization, which is really just restoring the site underneath the areas being demolished to a safe condition. And when we'll be able to move forward with that to support us really as we move forward into the final goal, which is the design and construction of the new athletic field at Curtis Corner. Phil will go through a little bit of where we are with the design and the cost estimate, and we'll open it up to questions. Next slide, please. So we stand here tonight on the 28th, seeking set approval. We are looking to get these plans out to bid early in November, to receive those bids on December 12th. The intention here really is to provide cost certainty. We know we have an $11 million bucket for all of the work associated with Curtis Corner. So while we're finalizing our contracts for the remainder of the high school and getting the cost certainty there, we also want to get a portion of cost certainty for the demolition and site stabilization. That's not really something you can design to budget. It is what it is. So we want to be able to have those numbers locked down to really have a clear picture of where we stand with the dollars to associate with the design of the new athletic fields. So we'll go through our approval process in December and January. This actually follows a similar process to the high school approvals. In January, after we have those numbers in, we are going to look to begin the design. Once we have those numbers finalized, we are looking to begin the design effort and revisit the redesign of the athletic field over at Curtis Corner. As you all know, we took a pause from that. Everybody's really anxious to get that going once we can really design to budget and have a firm idea of where those numbers are falling in line. So we'll be working with the building committee to understand how we want to bid that project out, whether it's a design build where you hire a designer contractor together and really kind of design to budget, or we do a design bid build where similar process to what we're doing now. We design out the project, put it out to bid, and then we'll hire a general contractor to do that work. So that work we're looking to do July, August for the demolition and site stabilization. And then again, the final completion of the athletic field portion will remain on target with the completion of the new high school in the fall of 2027. I'll hand it over to Phil.
Thank you, Kate. Next slide. So right now we have a 60% CD estimate of around $3 million for the demolition and the stabilization of the portion of the building that is going to remain. As Kate mentioned, we have an $11 million budget that we'll work to with the field work. I want to just go to the next slide, and if we have to, we'll come back to this. But the next slide shows you the highlight area of the portion of the building that we're looking to retain. And to remind everyone why we're doing this, this is the newest addition. There are configurations with some utilities and the arrangement of the rooms that make it a good candidate for a future use. And that future use has not been determined, but without negatively impacting the overall project at Curtis Corner, we're going to be able to keep a portion of this building. We'll be able to stabilize it, enclose it, keep power and water in the building, and it can be used in the future for some function that is determined by you all. It is not that much of a burden to do this work, to keep the building. We're going to be able to make sure water goes to the building and electric goes to the building, as well as maintain all the electric that currently services the field and the concession stand and the bathrooms, because it does come back to that portion of the building that we are keeping. So we do think it is a strategic opportunity, and that's what we're working towards. We could go backwards if we want. And really why we're doing this, as Kate mentioned, there's a level of cost certainty when we have this project with the bids received. It does allow for future proofing of the site. And as funds allow, be able to expand your athletic program or some other programs that can occur out there. And right now we're looking for the 60% construction document approval to submit it to RIDE so that we will continue to proceed accordingly. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So the building was not included in the original, retaining the building was not included in the original plan, right? When we came up with the $11 million, the original. Is that right?
I would say, yeah, correct,
Yeah.
that we were going to demolish the entire building.
So does that, and so the retention of that portion doesn't, because we were going to demolish the building anyway, retaining that portion doesn't add significant cost, or does it add any cost really?
We will know for certain when
Yeah.
bids are received. But we anticipate that with the reduction of demolition, yet the addition of some stabilization, we expect to be at a net zero level.
Thank you. And then I assume annual until we actually start using it for something, there's still some ongoing maintenance I guess it's more of an ongoing facilities question. We can't just lock it up and walk away. We're going to have
Correct. We
somebody's gonna have to
will,
walk
we
in
will
and see the
maintain
ceiling fall.
electricity. We will maintain a fire alarm system. You will maintain minimal heat until a future use is determined.
Thank you.
I was just curious what, because the original plans, as I understood them, were to move the field up, and that was the reason we're going to demolish the whole building. Is there any plan for the space that will be left with that building demolished?
The surrounding space,
Well, the building is there now. It's going to not be there in the future. Will there be something else there?
I think, yeah, as we develop the overall concept for that site, as Kate mentioned, it will have parking, or there could be other field opportunities there. That we're in the infancy of that.
So there's no plan per se, but it could be used in the future for additional fields, but
Parking, additional fields, correct. Yeah.
okay.
And we look forward to presenting those options after the new year when we see how we are looking from a financial standpoint and how far we can extend that budget that we have for that Curtis Corner athletic fields.
I just want to remind a little bit, one of the reasons why we didn't keep the track and field where it is because we're going to save this corner of the building. We are keeping the track and field relatively where it is because it would cost upwards of $19 million to move it to where the building was. If we remove the entire building and then move to the field, it was looking at $19 million. And that was clearly out of our budget. And so we kind of over the course of time have had various discussions, and then adding to it, where's the field house? Where are the guests? Where will people go to the bathroom? Where will this happen? Where will that happen? Because we would have had to have also removed the stands, the concession, and the upstairs of the concession there. So we would have had to have rebuilt everything. And so this was kind of an idea of, well, let's keep the field where it is, make sure it's graded up so that, we are dealing with the flooding situation. We are redoing that whole area. We want to keep the stands. We want to keep concession. We want to keep the press box. We want to keep the bathrooms. Otherwise, we were looking at porta potties. So this was kind of a various discussions over a lot of time. And then also the future use of this part of the building for field house opportunities, for, locker room opportunities, for athletic, like little sub areas. And so that's how we came to this spot. And then going forward, to your point, is once that building is demolished and we have our numbers, we can say, okay, it's going to cost X amount of money for the track and field and, whatever else, and parking. What else, can we envision this space to look like? And so that's kind of how we morphed to where we are today.
Okay. And just as a hypothetical, going forward, we proved the 60% tonight, and we move forward with the demolition. You could come back at some point if there's room in the budget to do something else with that area. You could come back and have another approval to ride of 60% of building whatever that thing is, which is as yet undefined.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want to understand the process. Thank you.
So just to clarify, that the track will be kept right where it is right now?
Our preliminary concepts showed the track wider, an 8-lane track that is obviously elevated a few feet higher than what it is now. Generally in that area, yes, but there are some shifts.
I'm just concerned with the wetlands that are around that
Mhm.
area.
Absolutely, yeah. And they have been flagged and identified, and as I mentioned, the entire site will be brought up, raised several feet above where it is now. So if you are concerned about existing soggy areas, we will be several feet above that with our new surface.
Is it possible to get renderings of what, I mean, I'm just having a hard time conceiving what it's going to look like.
There will absolutely be renderings. I promise you that. We just have not fully developed the design yet.
All right, thank you very much.
So, and just to clarify, the vote tonight is about the demolition and stabilization of the building. It's not about the design of the property.
Correct.
Thank you, Kate, for clarifying that.
All right, so need a motion, right? Yeah, I'll move to approve the 60%. What's the official? I'll move to approve the 60% construction document or demolition document, I guess, for Kerr's Corner. And submit it to RIDE.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
That motion passes. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
And onto a school building committee update. Kate?
We chatted a little bit about whether or not you were going to present or talk to so as part of the update, we have continued work going on. There are quite a few logistical things, but as far as the construction is going, the foundation is being poured. It's moving along pretty quickly. There are a couple, I'm not really prepared to do like a full in-depth update because we haven't had a school building committee meeting since our last meeting. So we're basically just looking at continued construction over here. We do have, if you don't mind speaking to real quickly, we're going out to bid for the next package in November, December.
So the remaining bid packages for the high school are out to bid currently, and we're receiving bids in phases. Right now, the bids that have been received, they're in the process. Gilbane is in the process of vetting those bids. They do full scope reviews, as these are very large contracts, to make sure everything is included, everything is captured, all the terms, conditions are followed, to provide a recommendation to award. Right now, pre-vetting all of those bids, we are trending well. We are looking, slightly under budget, which is a great thing, as we find our cost certainty to be able to finalize where all of those numbers are allocated. So we are looking to, in January, get our final guaranteed maximum price contract executed with Gilbane, and that will provide a recommendation to award for everything else to build the high school, and finalize and lock in those numbers.
Do you have any specific questions about the progress that's going on? It really is at this point like business as usual, and they just have moved into different phases of the construction. So there isn't much to update with. That's why we have not had a meeting.
Could you tell me who was chosen to be on the task force for change orders?
Yes. Dave Palazetti.
Thank you.
Yes. Yep. Him and Mike Marin from Town Council will join the team to make sure that gets processed properly.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. That's good.
So unless anybody has any other questions for myself or Kate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, that will bring us to item C, discussion action, collective bargaining, SKESB contract negotiations.
I will be recusing myself from this part of the discussion.
I will as well.
All right, so I just want to report out for the record that during executive session, we are in the process of forming a committee to do the negotiation. And we're just at the very beginning of this process, nothing else to report. We will table this item for a later meeting when we have made more progress. Action, Warwick Public Schools versus Barrington Public Schools. And we're going to table this one as well. So moving to item E, discussion action fundraiser, SKHS, or South Kingstown High School class of 2028 Top Golf, swing into the new year.
One of the class advisors for the class 2028. Audrey Buckley, the other class of 2028 advisor. So last year we came to you guys with 5 guys, if you remember. That was a great success. And so we met with our class officers and we've come up with this Top Golf as one of the fundraisers they want to do. It's a great opportunity for us to get really good bang for our buck. We get 50% return on all the admission fees and everything. So if a ticket costs $20, we get $10 for every single ticket. And they're excited to make a little game out of this, going to compete against each other. You get, they get 2 hours worth of golf, they get free beverages. And if they want to purchase food, that's on their own. So we're going to open this up to the school, faculty, and try to make a little fun out of it. See how much money we can raise for our class.
I'll make a motion to approve the fundraiser for the class of 2028.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. It sounds like a lot of fun. Good luck,
I'm
you guys.
excited. Thanks. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the item F, discussion action fundraiser, West Kingston Elementary School PTO Grown Up Crafts Night at Shikashine Farm.
More. Awesome. So the West Kingston PTO has teamed up with Shikashine Farm to offer like an adult night out. So we're trying to get the parents involved and just kind of build a community with the parents, because we always do things with the kids and we really wanted to kind of embrace the community as a whole. So we're going to be doing a wooden book frame.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the WKES PTO Grown Up Craft Night at Shikashine Farm.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with your fundraiser.
Good luck.
Okay. Next up, discussion action fundraiser, South Kingstown High School, Josie Fox, Missy Stark Scholarship Golf Tournament.
I'm a class advisor for class of 2029, and they're going to be helping with this fundraiser. So it's going to be a golf tournament, charity golf tournament at Pinecrest, May 30th. Save the date. I haven't quite nailed down how much it's going to be per golfer, but I've never done one of these before, but I'm getting a lot of help. So hopefully we're going to raise money for the scholarship. We give 2 scholarships every year to 2 seniors that embody the characteristics of Josie Fox and Missy Stark, who were 2 women who worked here and both passed away the same year. And so we're looking to just put some more money into that scholarship fund for those students. The class of 2029 freshmen are going to help with that. So they're going to get some, we haven't decided, but they're going to get some money for their class for this, for helping out. But yeah, so pretty much it.
I just want to thank you and everybody who's working on this for keeping Josie and Missy's memory alive and with this scholarship. They were great, great women. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Same way.
I second what Ms. Vetter says, but I'll make a motion to approve the fundraiser for the Josie Fox, Missy Stark Scholarship Golf Tournament.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Good luck, Mary. All right. Finally, we got on to H, discussion action policy number 8465, K through 12 cell phone policy update, second read. James?
Yeah, so this is just a follow on from our last meeting where we had a snippet of exceptions listed at the end of the policy per the updated state law that was passed in the last session. So happy to field any questions and feedback. And or a motion to accept the policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated cell phone policy number 8465 on the second read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion. Oh, did you have a comment?
Nope.
Okay,
Go
I'll make
ahead.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're adjourned at 8:53.